Hello tanks and tankettes, and welcome to a view replay on the Asian server, courtesy of STCom here. And you can tell it's the Asian server because this is one of the two new Asian server exclusive premiums. And I say exclusive, they're exclusive for now. We'll see if they come to other servers in time, but yes. So this rather weird looking tank is the Edelweiss, which is the companion of the Nameless. This is the medium and the Nameless is the heavy, and they are both from a game called Valkyria Chronicles. And obviously Wargaming has done a tie-in deal to bring these tanks into the game. So they are very Germanic in their design. In fact, they both pack 88mm guns, although the Nameless is pretty inarguably overpowered in a lot of ways, just with the armour and the firepower and the mobility. This is less bad, but yeah, as I was going to say, despite the fact that they do seem to have a very Germanic influence on their design, they are on the Japanese tech tree. So the Edelweiss is, in terms of its firepower at least, actually reasonably well balanced. They seem to have used the 59 pattern as something of a model for this. It's got very, very similar stats in a lot of ways. I think the DPM is the same, the bloom stats are the same. I think the dispersion is 0.38. I think that's the same. Let me just check that. I've got that somewhere. No, not quite right. The 59 pounds got 0.36, but it has the same aim time as the 59 pounds. So, yeah, they seem to have used that as the model for a lot of the gun stats, and for a direct medium, that's fine. It's all right. It's what, 195 base pen, so it's not like this is going to run around penning all the things and bouncing everything in return. Where it does start to become a little imbalanced is the fact that it has incredibly good mobility. It is probably the second best overall tier 8 medium tank for mobility, and only the CDC beats it in terms of horsepower per ton ratio, but this actually beats the CDC for top speed by something like 3 kilometers an hour, and it has far better terrain resistances because reasons, and also far better armour than the CDC. The armour actually, I mean, while we're on the subject, it's roughly what the Pershing has. So it will work sometimes. It's 120mm frontal plate, but it's not particularly well sloped compared to like the T44, for instance. If you compare the armour to this on T54 Mod 1, you know, that undoubtedly will beat it. But still, for the speed, the mobility, and the weight of this thing, it does seem to be packing a lot of armour, comparatively speaking. Not enough to be undefeatable, though. I mean, it's not going to matter when you're bottom tier, and only lower tier tanks will maybe struggle with it when it's angling correctly. But yeah, it's not really a tank that you do seem to want to rely on the armour for. It's just the fact that it's a 32-ton tank with the armour of a tank that's at least a couple of tons heavier, and it's got really good mobility and really good speed and really good acceleration. So that's the part that's problematic with this tank. But it's actually a good thing that they made it as light as they did, even though it seems it should be heavier for the armour it has, because if it was heavier, this thing would be a ramming beast. It really would. So STCom is, I mean, he's been in a bit of a tricky situation, because he got himself to this position, and he's had tanks that could have shot him in the side, like that Emil one, but didn't, because most of the enemy team have been fighting in the town, and that Super Pershing still probably would have killed him, but his allies saved him by shooting that guy from the back, and now he's got shots on the back of somebody. So I mean, he'd done alright damage wise up until that point, but now he's free to farm just even that bit more damage, and of course, as this is a premium tank, we'll see if he gets to make any money. So he's pressing up with this Scorpion. They are basically surrounding these enemy tanks, and well, that's an angry IS-3, but he is currently reloading because he shot the Rheinmetall. But as you can see, well, STCom's able to get that final shot. So it's just the last couple of enemies at this point. So that was a couple of rounds of premium fired towards the end of this. I'm not sure I really needed it for some of them, but there we go. There's actually an enemy Nameless, but I think his regular ammo would have done for the side armor of that thing. But as you can see, yeah, 3.7, nearly 3.8k damage done was enough for an ace mastery, and he also got himself a steel wall, despite ending that with only 8 hit points left. So he didn't have that many bounces, but he had just enough to keep him alive, and his damage output was sufficient to put him at the top of the team quite easily. And it's not like the DPM on this thing is super amazingly good. You know, as I've said, it's the same as the 59 pattern, and 1920 base DPM is okay. You can boost that to over 2000 quite easily, but it's not especially special for this tier. So he's made some profit there, but not as much as he would have with a premium account. Obviously, having fired those couple of APCR shells at the end will have eaten into that, but overall, that was not a bad game. So yeah, I mean, the Edelweiss, it does seem like the only truly problematic parts are just how mobile it is. It absolutely makes owning an AMX CDC pointless when you can own this thing. I think the only thing that the CDC really does better is just the sheer acceleration, but then bear in mind that that's offset by the terrain resistances, the considerably worse terrain resistances that the CDC has, and also the CDC has got better gun depression by 2 degrees and elevation by 5 degrees. In all other regards, I mean, apart from a slight bit of extra pen with the CDC's gun, I mean, the handling is just so much better on the Edelweiss's gun, and just the fact that you've got armor, you've got pretty much all of the speed and the mobility of the CDC. Yeah, so it's power creepy as hell, but it's definitely not as overpowered, just outright pay to win as the Nameless is. So there we go, there's one of the new Weeb tanks in the game. Hopefully you have enjoyed this replay, and if you have, you can hit the like button, you can leave any comments below, you can sub to my channel if you haven't already, and as always, stay tuned for more.